Tonight at dinner, you're going to eat something that was killed for you. Chicken, beef, fish, doesn't matter which. You'll cut into it without a second thought. Now picture the same plate, except instead of chicken, there's a slice of lion. Same fork, same hunger. Your stomach just turned, didn't it? Nobody taught you that. No parent ever explained the rule. And yet every human culture on this planet, cultures that never met, never shared a language, never shared a god, landed on the same unspoken law. Eat the grazer, leave the hunter alone. A cow and a wolf are both just muscle and fat, both technically edible. So, why has one never once appeared on a menu anywhere in the history of our species? Hold that question, because by the end of this video, you're going to find out that somewhere on this planet, right now, while you're watching, people are breaking this rule on purpose every single day. And what it's doing to them is worse than anything you're picturing right now. Stay to the end for that part. Let's build the case first, all right? Start with the number that almost settles this by itself. In 1942, ecologist Raymond Lindemann calculated something now called the 10% rule. Every time energy climbs one level up the food chain, about 90% of it is lost, burned as heat. Spent on movement, lost to digestion. A field holding 100 pounds of energy feeds maybe 10 pounds of deer. That 10 pounds of deer feeds 1 pound of wolf. To grow 1 pound of predator, you need 10 pounds of prey underneath it, and 100 pounds of plants underneath that. A predator is the most expensive meat biologically possible to produce. No civilization in human history has ever had energy to burn on livestock that eat other livestock. That's the entry fee. It's not even the real reason. Because here's where it stops being about math and starts being about poison. It's called biomagnification. Toxins in an environment don't fade as they move up a food chain. They concentrate. A small fish absorbs a trace of mercury. A bigger fish eats hundreds of those small fish and inherits all of it at once. By the top, you're not looking at a little more poison than everything below. You're looking at a lifetime of it, compressed into one body. Off the coast of Washington State, marine mammal toxicologist Peter Ross has spent years studying a population of killer whales that hunt at the very top of the Pacific food chain. What he found, these whales carry some of the highest PCB levels of any marine mammal on Earth. PCBs are industrial chemicals banned decades ago that still don't break down. And here's the part that should bother you. Calves nurse, which means a mother killer whale spends her whole life concentrating that poison, then hands a lethal dose of it straight to her newborn through her own milk. In the most contaminated pods, close to half the calves don't survive their first year. That's what sitting at the top of a food chain actually costs. So the science says, don't eat what's above you. Simple rule, you'd think it protects you completely, it doesn't. That's coming, because there's a second layer here, and it's not chemical, it's psychological, and it's older than any of us. Psychologist Paul Rozin at the University of Pennsylvania spent decades mapping the emotion of disgust. His conclusion, disgust isn't random. It evolved specifically to stop your mouth from taking in something toxic or contaminated, long before your conscious mind can weigh the risk. And the aversion to eating carnivores shows up the same way across cultures that never had contact with each other. No shared history, no shared religion. No study has directly tested whether this specific reaction is hardwired rather than absorbed from watching everyone around you never eat lion. But the pattern lines up almost too well to be coincidence. Somewhere back there, the individuals who felt nothing about eating a predator sometimes died from what was packed inside it. The ones who felt an unexplainable no survived and passed that feeling forward. But if that instinct is so well tuned, how does it ever fail? Here's the loophole. The instinct only fires on the meat. It says nothing about the rest of the body. Scientists still debate exactly what killed Xavier Mertz. In 1911, an Antarctic expedition led by Douglas Mawson ran out of food hundreds of miles from safety. Mertz ate the only thing left, the livers of their sled dogs. Within days, he was delirious, his speech slurring into outbursts he couldn't control. Then the seizures started, one after another, his body convulsing on the ice, while his teammate could do nothing but watch and write it down. He was dead within weeks, still hundreds of miles from anyone who could save him. The leading theory since the 1960s is hypervitaminosis A, a lethal overdose from an organ that stores extreme concentrations of vitamin A in any animal built to hunt for a living. Some researchers have since argued the cold and starvation played a role too. But here's what nobody disputes. Indigenous Arctic hunters had known for generations to throw that organ away and feed it to nobody, not even their dogs. Nobody had told Mertz. His instinct warned him off the meat. It never warned him about the organ. That's the loophole. That's very likely what killed him, and that loophole never closed. It's wide open right now. Walk into parts of China or Vietnam today, and you'll find bears living their entire lives in cages so small they can't turn around. A steel catheter runs through a hole cut into their abdomen straight into the gallbladder, draining bile every single day for years, sometimes decades. Conservation groups estimate tens of thousands of bears are held this way right now, alongside a market for tiger bone and lion bone, sold not as food, but as medicine, promising to transfer the animal's power into whoever consumes it. Nobody in that market thinks they're eating dinner. They believe they're swallowing strength itself. And they've found the same gap Mertz found by accident in 1911. Your disgust response was built to stop you from biting into a steak. It was never built to stop you from believing you could drink a predator's power out of its bile. One man fell through that loophole by desperation in the ice over a century ago. Right now, today, thousands of bears are living inside that same loophole on purpose because it never closed. So the wolf was never on your plate, not because you're civilized. 100,000 years of dead ancestors ran this calculation before you were born and wrote the answer into your body instead of a book. You just feel it instantly every time. But your instinct only ever learned to stop you from eating the meat. It never learned to stop you from wanting what the meat represents. And that gap is still open right now on the other side of the planet while you finish this sentence.